It was an unprecedented attack, obviously. Let's get right to it. What is your assessment of Iran's response? Or at least it calls it its response to the embassy attack. What is your assessment?
Uh, I see this response as a marked escalation and a real turning point in the Israel-Iran rivalry and potentially even for Iran's security doctrine. Iran used to talk about for many years responding in kind. That would have meant largely targeting an embassy. And because of the legacy of the Iran-Iraq war, it had been enacting a security policy to basically contest Israel in a death by a thousand cuts approach to avoid any kind of kinetic response, particularly against its own territory. We had heard statements from the Supreme Leader, particularly, I think, 2017, 2018, about trying to establish overwhelming deterrence or establish it by force. I think he said, if you hit one, we will hit 10, something to that effect. But we never saw it in effect. And what makes the Islamic Republic strike against Israel so unique is that while Iran has engaged in at least 11 or 12 public ballistic missile operations from its own territory since 2017 against the targets in Iraq and Syria, and more recently in Pakistan, it to date has never struck overtly from its own territory a defended target. Israel has some of the best, if not the best, layered air and missile defenses. And when you add in the recently reported multinational role of Jordanians, of French, of Brits, and most importantly, Americans, that is a huge force multiplier in establishing deterrence by denial against Iran. And so militarily, one might say, if the IDF numbers are true, the strike was unsuccessful. In terms of security strategy, it represents a marked escalation by Iran, an eerie sense of overconfidence by Iran. But I think it also shows a political strategy behind it here as well, which is to establish a willingness to take more risks, to feel the need to offset the series of defeats the Israelis had given the Iranians, both inside Iran with covert action, particularly since 2020, and outside Iran in the Syrian theater for many years. And I think the X factor here really is Iran may be counting on America as a restraining factor in any potential Israeli response.
Do you think Iran's response was, in a way, calibrated?
I think the most important thing the IRGC wanted from this strike was to be seen as, however, in however limited fashion, penetrating Israeli airspace. Right now, there's debates over how damaged, if at all, any potential Israeli runways are, air bases, for example. This stuff will continue to change over the next few days. But I think the Islamic Republic simply wanted to say they did something unprecedented here. Was the strike telegraphed? I think absolutely. Is there a military rationale for sending out drones that are low and slow and marrying it up with ballistic missiles, which are high and fast? Absolutely. Perhaps to exhaust some kind of defenses, perhaps to lull the other side into a false sense of security. But in general, I think that this was, again, the use of military force by the Islamic Republic to achieve political ends.
Do you feel this was a miscalculation on Iran's part?
Increasingly, I am of the view that the Islamic Republic overreached here. There is no universe, in particularly post-October 7 universe, that I could see Israel, regardless of who is prime minister, merely absorbing this strike. When you layer on the 4-decade history of the Israeli-Iranian shadow war, it only becomes even more intense. The real question then is what target, what time, and what method of attack by Israel, and at what point will or won't that have American support?
And that was going to be my next question. It does seem like that Israel just has no option but to respond now, because this was unprecedented, as you said. I know it's difficult to predict the future, but how do you think Israel's response is going to look like?
I don't think this is going to be a knee-jerk kind of response by Israel. I mean, I don't think we're going to see the military response tomorrow. I could be dead wrong, but I don't think we're going to see it tomorrow. And I don't think the nuclear facilities are going to be target number one. If anything, I think this is going to be an attempt to reestablish deterrence that the Israelis, no matter how successful deterrence by denial was, deterrence by punishment, I think, reigns supreme. I think in their security doctrine. So I think targeting military sites, military assets, some kind of defanging operation to reduce the capabilities of the Islamic Republic. Now, how many rounds could that go? Do they have the refuelers for that? What kind of targets would they like to hit beyond that? And anything in a country that does have some aerial defenses like Iran, some foreign, some domestically produced, you have to worry about suppression of enemy air defenses, destruction of enemy air defenses before you can even get to your target. Could the Israelis take that out with electronic warfare? Potentially. So there's a whole series of unchecked boxes here that the Israelis are going to have to check first if they want to really land the blow and establish deterrence by punishment.